Welcome to this explainer on Congress and lawmaking. Today, we're going to trace a bill's wild journey through the fascinating and honestly pretty grueling constitutional obstacle course of the U.S. legislative process. So let's jump right in. Here's the big idea we're exploring today. The framers of the Constitution deliberately designed lawmaking to be difficult. You heard that right. It's actually supposed to be hard. Instead of giving all the power to one person, they built this complex system of separated powers to prevent hasty, poorly thought out legislation. Let's look at the evidence of how this careful deliberation is forced to happen.
Here's our agenda for this journey. We'll track a bill through 5 hurdles. 1. The bicameral Congress. 2. The committee process. 3. Floor debate and compromise. 4. Presidential action. And finally, 5. The final override.
Section 1. The bicameral Congress. The framers' first major hurdle is a forced compromise between two totally different chambers. The House of Representatives is the lower house, capped at 435 members since 1929, where representation is based entirely on a state's population. On the flip side, the Senate is an exclusive club of exactly 100 members, ensuring equal representation with 2 senators per state, regardless of size. A bill has to clear both of these vastly different rooms to survive. Section 2, the committee process. Before a bill ever reaches the full floor, it gets thrown straight into the committee blender. Once a bill is introduced, it's sent to a specialized committee. Here, hearings are held, and the fine print is intensely debated by experts. And you know what? This is actually where most bills die. They are completely weeded out before they ever even see the light of day. Section 3, floor debate and compromise. Now, if a bill actually manages to survive committee, it heads to the floor, where it is essentially open season. Representatives thoroughly debate, poke, prod, and amend the text until it's finally voted up or down. And get this, if it miraculously passes one chamber, it moves over to the second chamber, where this grueling process begins all over again. Okay, let's pause for a quick check. We know a bill has to go through both the House and the Senate. But why in the world would a bill need to go to a joint committee after successfully passing both of those chambers? Well, because both the House and the Senate have the power to hack up and amend legislation during their own floor debates, they often end up passing 2 entirely conflicting versions of the exact same bill. So the Joint Committee forces members from both sides to sit down, hammer things out, and reconcile their differences into one identical piece of legislation. Next up, Section 4, Presidential Action. Even after hundreds of lawmakers in Congress finally agree on identical text, the obstacle course isn't over. The Constitution guarantees the executive branch acts as a deliberate check on their power. Article 1, Section 7 ensures the president is formally baked right into this lawmaking process. Once presented with the legislation, the president has a clear choice. They can approve and sign the bill into law, making it official, or they can stamp it with an official rejection, which we know as a veto. Time for another pause check. We all know a veto is a rejection, right? But what actually happens mechanically to the bill itself? Does it just vanish into thin air? Not at all. The Constitution explicitly states the bill is returned to its originating chamber, right along with the president's written objections. So this veto forces Congress to stop, read the president's concerns, and fundamentally reconsider all their hard work. And that brings us to Section 5, the final override. If Congress really wants to bypass the president's veto, they're going to need a supermajority. Specifically, 2/3 of the members present in both the House and the Senate must agree to pass it again. Securing a 2/3 vote in just one chamber is incredibly difficult. Doing it in both? That's a massive constitutional threshold, deliberately designed so that only legislation with overwhelming bipartisan support can override the executive branch. So, let's quickly recap all our evidence of this deliberately difficult design. To become a law, a single bill has to survive intense committee scrutiny, clear 2 vastly different legislative chambers, reconcile all its differences in a joint committee, face down the president's pen, and possibly endure a grueling 2/3 override vote. It is a real marathon. I'll leave you with this transfer question to think about. The framers obviously valued slow, careful deliberation to protect against bad laws. But how does this intentionally difficult system of checks and balances impact the speed at which our government can respond to fast-paced, modern crises today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep asking great questions.